I avoided talking about the ride back home yesterday, saying that the ride was a one-time thing.
I'll be riding with you guys from now on to and from school.
The girls seemed very happy. We entered the school, quickly gathered our things from our lockers, and headed to class. There were no events, to our surprise, especially because we just beat up Lisette yesterday. I'm still not over that.
That was awesome.
It was awesome, but it was also like we just didn't get in trouble for it at all.
And it went on forever. Like, I don't think we can do the fight Lisette thing again unless we need the chaos point, because that scene goes on for so long!
History wasn't exactly fun, but our teacher was great. At least he would have been great if he was in class that day.
Ooh-wee-hoo.
Naomi and Suzu took their seats around me. Suzu in front of me, Naomi beside me, before the class bell rang and the class was greeted by the dean.
Okay.
Well, remember, they don't have a principal, they were like the dean's office.
What kind of high school has a dean instead of a principal? This is America we're talking about here.
Yeah, America with Suzu, the Italian.
Students, you'll be having a substitute for class today. Everyone meet
Miss Diana.
Diana! No.
Gets me every time. Zoom, 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 make my heart go boom, boom.
My supernova girl. My heart stopped. At the door with the dean was Diana, looking over the students and smirking as her eyes landed on me. She strutted to the teacher's desk, ignoring or welcoming the whispers from the other students, before sitting on the wood and crossing her legs.
Because she can't do anything without being sexy, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean. You can go now.
With a wave of Diana's hand, the dean left the classroom, closed the door, and left the area. Diana smiled at us, making my stomach turn. What was she going to do?
So, history. History. Such a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, what do we care about the past? We're in the present.
Diana sounds like that one kid who takes one philosophy class and thinks they can lecture everyone.
The rest of the class, including Naomi and Suzu, hesitantly nodded in agreement, unsure about this new teacher, but willing to listen to more of what she had to say.
The present is so full of wonderful things. While the labors of the past are the reason we have many things, it is our chance and privilege to utilize what has been given to us.
Toilets, running water, air conditioning, cell phones.
Processed cheese.
Yep, processed cheese.
Her charm was almost infectious. The class was practically starting to eat out of her hand. I looked around to see classmates grinning and agreeing with Diana. I pressed my lips together as I listened further. I had no choice. What are you doing?
What's even funnier about human beings is that some of the bits of history we hear is either made up or completely biased to one side. It's like a story you read as a child.
I mean, that's true, at least.
Yeah, I know, but the whole thing is that she's trying to make this an allegory about her poor life as a succubus and the kingdom. And Thomas Edison was a witch.
Yep.
You hear of the princess and the prince, and they live happily ever after. But what about the family she left behind? What of her friends?
Well, usually they sold her off, so...
Or they're just dead. Dead. The students listened and agreed intensely to her words. I could tell, however, that these words were all targeted at me because it was a really clear allegory.
The original story of The Little Mermaid, a perfect example of biased opinion. Here we have a girl who thinks she can be with this prince, but this prince has to marry a princess.
I mean, technically The Little Mermaid is a princess if you want to get technical about it.
Yeah, Diana.
What would happen if the mermaid had her way? What makes the mermaid so important that the princess has to suffer the consequences?
What makes the princess so important that the mermaid has to suffer the consequences?
Reversal!
It doesn't fucking matter!
The rest of the class turned their heads to me. Naomi and Suzu looked at me with equally surprised looks. I kept my eyes to Diana. If I was the mermaid, I wasn't going to let the princess take my prince away. Diana stared at me before smiling and turning her body to fully face me.
Oh? And why does it not matter?
The story isn't about the princess. The story is about the mermaid and the prince.
Ah, but that is exactly my point. While the story talks about the mermaid and the prince's romance, we don't see the problems of the kingdom the prince rules.
Her lips bother me when she does that because it just feels like she's going into like DeviantArt kitty face mode.
I know, right?
I don't like it!
While we are all fixated with this love story, we ignore the fact the kingdom would fall apart without the marriage between the prince and princess.
She kept her eyes to me as she spoke. I knew she wanted to make her words stick in my mind, but I didn't listen. It was one thing to be a fictional story. It was another to try and ruin someone's life for selfishness. Diana chuckled and looked back to the class.
Well, luckily in the real story of the Little Mermaid, the mermaid knows that what she was doing was wrong, and she threw herself into the ocean, turning into sea foam.
That is not how the story goes.
Some of the students that surrounded me mumbled in surprise, obviously not knowing the real story because they like Disney. However, Diana was wrong once again.
Like, horrendously wrong. Like, you didn't even study this at all, did you?
That's not true.
Once again, the class looked to me, and Diana faced me with another smile.
Not true. How so?
The trade-off for becoming human was marrying the prince or turning into sea foam. However, she was also given the choice to kill the prince and turn back into a mermaid. The mermaid didn't because she loved him and sacrificed herself for that love. That is a story worth telling, not some princess getting her way, but of a tragedy that had befallen a girl who only wanted love.
The class applauded me, with Suzu giving me her usual punch to my shoulder, and Naomi smiling at my logic. Diana, however, finally grew an almost angered face at me.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the princess should be given no mind.
Princess can solve her own damn problems.
The story is not about the princess. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prince.
Even at the risk of a kingdom falling apart?
I think the princess can handle it.
Even if the world fell apart around them, duty does not overrule love, and the princess needs to realize this.
The applause that followed that intensified with whoops and hollers. I felt a wave of confidence roll through my body. Diana wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to let her. Diana then stopped talking and looked at the clock on the wall, reading it quickly. The class had barely begun. Why was she looking at the time? Diana then leaned against the blackboard and smiled to us. I became worried.
You know what? School isn't important. Everyone, go ahead and head home. Take the week off.
What do you want?
Okay, I guess, whatever.
The students suddenly began to chat happily or in confusion of the situation. Many thought it was a dream come true. Others knew better. Before anyone could protest, however, Diana pressed a finger to her lips and counted down with her fingers in the air. 3, 2, 1. Speakers of the classroom gently awoke, giving us an announcement we would never believe.
Attention students, due to an emergency faculty meeting, we will be closing school for the remainder of the day and this entire week. Please leave the school quickly and quietly and have a good rest of the week.
Emergency faculty meeting for the rest of the week.
Sucks to be them.
She used her powers on them. Damn it. I felt the need to stop her. But how could I stop a demon in the middle of a public area? Diana smiled before gesturing to the door. Just move my head if it's in the wrong place. I don't understand what you want from me.
Have a nice week off. School will resume next week.
Many of the students filed out, chatting to each other about new impromptu plans. Suzu was beyond happy, but Naomi was hesitant because Naomi's a goody two-shoes. Before we could pack up and leave, however, Diana stepped to us.
Excuse me, little miss. I'd like you to stay a little while. There's something we need to discuss.
What, your lack of knowledge on folklore?
As Diana looked to Suzu and Naomi, she snapped her fingers, making my friends tense up.
You two can head home. Don't worry about your friend until next week, okay? If you contact her, she won't reply, so don't bother. If she contacts you, ignore her, because she's just fine.
As if on command, Suzu and Naomi left the room. I tried to march after them, but Diana stepped in my path, warning me with her eyes that if I followed, there would be hell to pay. I had lost my two friends, at least for the week. Diana and I were alone, just like she wanted. I slammed my hands on the desk in front of me and glared at Diana. You did the Ace Attorney slam. I'm very proud.
What are you doing and what are you thinking?
What? Do I not make a good teacher? I figured you should have a little lesson, so I took matters into my own hands.
Well, good job. It wasn't very thought out.
Whatever you're trying to do won't work.
You really think so, dear? And what makes you so sure about that?
What was making me so sure? Why was I confident? Were the boys worth this?
Yeah?
Hell yeah! My thoughts began to fill with doubt. All of the uncertainties about this whole ordeal began to cloud my mind. If the boys were ever found out, there'd be hell to pay. Was it worth it? What about Diana? What would she do to me? Would she make my parents forget about me completely? Honestly, would not be that much of a problem considering what your dad
How
does.
much contact do you really have with your parents anyways?
Your dad is horrible and your mom just lets it happen. Would she ruin my friends' lives out of spite? Now that, yes.
That would suck.
That would suck. In my gut, I felt a stone of confidence try to fight back. But the heaviness of my thoughts began to dissolve that stone little by little. What was going on with me? Well, I was stuck in this room with a succubus and she got her saxophone music and I admit she looks really pretty even though I want to punch her. I looked up to see Diana once again, to see her gaze boring into my eyes. She was using her powers on me. This time I was away from home, so I couldn't escape. Or could I? Did I want to? The way she stared at me made me feel warm and fuzzy. Or could I? Did I want to? The way she stared at me made me feel warm and fuzzy inside my chest. I felt like melting. Diana lifted a hand under my chin and ran her thumb over my lips, licking her own. Oh my. I could feel little shots of energy zipping from under my skin into my chin where she held me.
Now, let's have a little taste of that sweet, virginal sexual
This
energy.
is a bit weird, Diana.
Don't make it weird.
This is really weird. I watched as she leaned in, ready to kiss me and take my energy. Half of my body felt elation at the idea. The other half completely rejected it and didn't want her to even touch me.
Sam!
Suddenly, Diana stopped in her tracks.
Sam, who is...
It then dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why don't you tell me which boy is Sam?
I felt myself nod in compliance.
The third!
Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back. See, I don't even know what age the boys are in regards to each other, okay?
Okay, so
I wouldn't know who's the third, who's the fourth, who's the 500th.
James is the oldest.
I mean, I knew that one.
Eric is next.
Okay.
Then it's Sam.
Okay.
Then it's Matthew.
Yeah.
Then it's Damien.
Really? The brute? With you?
I nodded once again, but it was partly my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mimicked a cat's purr before stepping away from me.
All right, then. Well, if it's the brute you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
That's what you said about Damien, too.
Diana chuckled before kissing my nose, where I felt a shot of energy zap out of my body, making almost me dizzy and recoil.
Yep, that's how the sentence went.
That's how the sentence went because I just got out of her, sex spell, okay?
Almost making me dizzy and recoil.
Diana then turned to the desk and sat on the wood, crossing her legs because she must do this constantly, apparently.
You can go now. Remember, no class for the rest of the week.
And how am I supposed to get home? My 2 friends left me here thanks to you.
Oh, were they your ride? My apologies. Let me help then.
Diana then lifted her hand and snapped her fingers. I suddenly felt the floor sink from underneath me, forcing me to look down. A purple pentagram surrounded my feet, pulling me into the ground.
Whoa!
But before I could fight, however, I sank fully into the floor, fading into darkness and shutting my eyes. As I opened them, I felt my silk sheets around me, soothing my anxiety from the darkness that had previously surrounded me.
What the?
Why did Diana bring me home? Was it an illusion? Was I being tricked? Something was going on. I sat up in bed, looking around me. I was indeed in my room. There was no mistake about that. Why?
Diana is too strange.
You're telling me, Laundry.
I can't believe we fucking named her Laundry.
Was the game? Was this part of her plan to get the boys back? I was lost and confused more than ever, despite my logical thought, trying to piece the puzzle together that is Diana. Dirty Diana. The more I tried to solve her, the less I understood about the situation I was in. I was interrupted, however, by my door suddenly opening, revealing the boys with Damien's hand on the doorknob.
Miss, what are you doing here?
Aren't you supposed to be in school?
Yeah!
I furrowed my eyebrows and stared at Damien, asking him to answer the questions through my thoughts.
Diana sent her back here. She invaded her school and sent all the students back home.
Diana?
What is that bitch up to? Seriously, Diana's playing around for no reason.
Maybe it's part of her plan.
The boys continued to argue back and forth about Diana, fueling an almost jealous curiosity in me. Damien seemed to be too deep within the talking to notice my thoughts, for he didn't even stop talking alongside his brothers. Why was Diana after them? Why did she want to bring them back? What was so important about the boys that she would travel to the human world to get them? I'll give you a hint. Shirtless wet man.
Right, that, or the genocide of her people.
Wetless shirt man! What was going on? I decided enough was enough. I needed answers.
Hey!
What's the big idea?
Yo, Mika! Her name's Mika!
The boys stopped arguing, staring at me in surprise. I held my hands in fists on my lap, mustering the courage to continue to speak despite my abrupt shout.
Why is Diana here? Why does she want to bring you all back? What exactly did you all run from, and why did you run from it?
Miss, we...
Don't miss me! Please, I need to know what's going on. I won't be left in the dark about this. I want to know what I'm facing.
The boys looked at each other hesitantly, unsure of what to reply. Finally, Sam pushed Damien towards the bed, making him buckle and land on his knees with his torso over the edge of the mattress.
Damien, do the thing.
Do the thing!
Surely do the thing!
The thing? What thing?
Sam, you're not suggesting.
Why not? She deserves to know everything, especially if Diana is targeting her.
Did you hear that? Especially.
Why not? She deserves to know everything, especially if Diana is targeting her.
It's like we're on to WrenVix season. Going to web and hunt.
Especially if Diana's targeting her.
Sam's right.
I guess we have no choice then.
I was getting confused. What was Damien about to do? Damien stood before climbing onto the bed with me, sitting across from me on his knees.
We're going to show you everything. You have to trust me, okay? The minute you stop trusting me, the vision will stop.
Vision?
You want to know, right? Trust him.
Trust me.
Okay.
We trust him. I looked to Sam, unsure of what was going on, but I nodded. If this was the only way to learn, then this was my chance to know. Damien gently placed his hands on each side of my head, gently pressing his thumbs into the skin above my eyebrows. I could only stare at Damien as his eyes began to glow gold. and energy began to be both pulled out of me and forced into my head. Within seconds, my vision went black once again. I was unsure of what Damien was doing, but soon shapes and textures slowly began to appear around me. I found myself sitting on a stone floor in the middle of what looked like a fantasy throne room.
Where am I?
I looked down at myself to stand only... Wait, what?
I looked down at myself to stand, only to see my body as translucent as a ghost.
Whoa!
I jumped and inspected my hands in a sudden panic. I was see-through! What was going on?
How dare they try to negotiate with me? Do they not know whom they speak to?
I gasped and ran behind a nearby pillar away from the voice. The sound of his anger and words frightened every bone in my body, turning me into a frightened child.
My lord, please calm yourself. Calm? They're merely testing my resolve. I have more than half of a mind to send my greatest armies to take what should be mine. They are mere insects in the way of my kingdom's expansion.
They merely asked for a marriage joining.
So I'm to bow to them and share my land that I have so rightfully conquered?
Yay, genocide.
I peeked out from behind the pillar to see a large demon covered in royal clothes, but buff enough to be a military commander.
Right, because that's what military commanders do.
His rage practically emanated from his body as he growled at his cliché servant.
Rawr!
They are willing to give their land to you, sire. All they ask is for one of your sons to marry their daughter, whom I might add is as beautiful as can be.
This is ridiculous. To suggest that I need their approval to take their land is beyond insanity. What makes them think I care about their precious daughter?
Did I mention that she is a prodigy of her kind, sire?
A prodigy?
Yes, my lord. This succubus is a master of her skills in magic and mind manipulation. She is said to sway armies with a snap of her fingers, despite being as young as she is.
Impossible!
Inconceivable!
That word.
If only it were, sire. This succubus is dangerous, but would be a great asset to have should we agree to this arrangement. The only reason she cannot faze you, my lord, is because you are the strongest demon in the plains.
Wow, really laying it on there, demon servant.
Is this supposed to change my mind?
Yes, my lord.
It's so hard for me to accept. Look, it's so hard for me to accept this guy as like the big bad demon of the land when he acts like this.
I know, right? He's so lame.
You are doing a terrible job at convincing me.
My apologies, sire.
I was lost. I could tell that they were talking about Diana. But why?
Father.
I quickly turned my head to see another demon, who looked like a mere child staring at the demon commander on the throne.
Father.
Ray Stroud, have you finished your training?
Yes, Father.
Then what do you want?
I want to be with my brothers the best of the day, Father.
The demon commander walked to the young demon and gripped his hair, picking him off the ground and forcing him to look up at his snarl. The young demon, however, looked unfazed.
Arrogance. Why should I allow you to be with them? I should kill you for your lack of respect to me.
But you won't, because he's the only one who actually listens to you.
Yeah, for real.
Because I want to be with them, Father.
I could only stare as the young demon faced his father, despite the massive difference between them. This young demon seemed weaker and easy to kill versus the demon commander. Why would this man kill his son, though? Was this commander that ruthless? However, I wasn't expecting him to laugh and release the young demon.
Good! Assertive even in the face of danger. That is why you are my favorite son.
I could only stare wide-eyed as the commander placed his hand on the demon's shoulder.
Very well. Go. Tomorrow, you will show me your training.
The little demon grinned widely before running off.
I have a thought.
Don't.
Yes, my lord?
How old is this daughter?
As old as your 5th, sire.
Do you believe this proposal is worth it?
Yes, sire.
Tell those insects that they are safe for now. I will consider their offer.
Sire, are you certain?
Did I stutter? Now go!
Oh.
Did I?
The demon servant quickly ran off, but as soon as he passed the pillar I was hiding behind, he, along with the commander, vanished into thin air.
What the?
What had happened? I didn't get the time to trigger out. Wow. I didn't get the time to try to figure that out before a demon who looked around my age walked into the room reading a book.
Is that?
Racetrow, your nose is stuck in those books. Will you not lift your head up from them once in a while?
Huh? That voice! It's Vic Mignogna!
I circled around the pillar to see a second demon, leaning against another pillar and smirking at Racetrow.
Aren't you supposed to be with your mother practicing the harpsichord?
Oh no, he's a musician? Eric's the musician.
I am, but I had a feeling that you were in danger.
In danger? What are you?
In danger of being tickled!
The harpsichord. What a nerd.
Attack!
Hi, Matthew. All of a sudden, 3 shadows zipped through the room and slammed into Racetrow, forcing him to fall to the ground and drop his book.
Oh, it's my favorite music track!
I was just going to say that. As the sight cleared for me, there were 3 other demons in a dog pile with Racetrow at the bottom.
Get up!
No.
No way! You haven't had a break in months from those stupid books. It's time for punishment!
Hi, Sam.
Death by brotherhood!
Hi, Matthew.
No more reading!
I told you that you were in danger.
That was Damien.
That was Damien! Oh my god!
He was the littlest.
Oh no, he's so tiny!
The wibblest whittle bobble.
I suddenly knew who these demons were, as if it wasn't
As
obvious.
if it wasn't glaringly obvious.
It's the boys.
Even in the demon world, their brotherly connection was astounding. They were merely younger versions of themselves. One of the demons, who I assumed was Matthew, grabbed the book from the floor and opened it, reading it mockingly.
How can you read this, Racetrow? It's all about war strategy. It's boring.
I have to, Zakaru. Get off!
Oh my god.
There's only one thing you need to know about strategy. Kill them all. Take no prisoners.
That is not a valid strategy.
You sound just like father.
I couldn't help but giggle. It was cute to see them acting childish with each other. Eventually, James managed to push his brothers off of him and stand brushing himself off.
You all are reckless. At least we have fun.
It's true. You haven't been with us in weeks. Don't you think it's time for a break?
I'm sure father won't mind.
I'm sure he will.
But I have to.
I know you want to, Racetrow.
Damn it.
What is going on here?
Uh-oh.
Fun!
I shot my head to the voice to see the commander, aged a little, staring at the boys with his arms across his chest. Damien quickly dashed and hid behind Sam, peeking over his shoulder to see the large commander. Oh, he's so tiny!
Nothing is going on. We just passed by each other.
Then why does your brother have your book?
I was showing him what I was learning, Father.
Return to your studies, Racetrow. The rest of you out of my sight. Do not disturb your brother again.
I could only stare as James gently took his book and, without looking at his brothers, returned to reading. The commander walked past the remaining brothers, growling at Sam and Damien before leaving the room. What was up with that?
Don't worry about it. We'll find a way to get him back.
I don't know. He's on a very tight leash.
Ezra, you're quiet. What did you hear?
He's going to a negotiation meeting. He's going to arrange a marriage.
A marriage? For who?
It must be for one of us.
He hasn't decided who will marry her. It's a girl from a kingdom he wants to take over.
But that's uncharacteristic of him. Usually he'd just attack with the army.
Whatever the case is, one of us is getting married.
I hope it isn't me.
What about Racetrow? He's the eldest.
It would make sense, but having a succubus marrying one of us, means that she'll be practically married to all of us.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I still am not entirely sure what you meant by that.
Well, what should we do?
Because, like, when we were with Damien, at least, so far, y'all ditched us!
Before the conversation could continue, the boys vanished into thin air, fading into different colored mists. They were replaced by an older Damien and Matthew, sitting with each other in the middle of the throne room.
Do you think we should?
I really want to.
I want to as well. Still, it'll be hard to convince Raistero, since he's the one about to be married, and he's the favorite.
We don't know that, Takeru. Maybe she's set to marry you.
No way! I don't want to get married.
Oh, you can't tie Matthew down. No chains. No chains!
I don't think you'll have a problem with that baby face of yours.
I have a baby face too!
Kicking over his gazelle horn.
His horns look so dumb! I just noticed all of the designs are different for them.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that. You can tell just by their necks. I looked over to see Sam join the duo, crossing his arms and raising an eyebrow at his brothers, even though his hands were clearly on his hips.
What are you two talking about?
We got into contact with the human world again.
Come on, Ezreal. You give humans too much attention.
No way, you gotta listen. They apparently have stores and books and schools and stuff.
So what? It's full of humans who piss on each other for no reason. They're no better than the devil spawn.
Is that what Sam knows about us?
I mean, technically he's not wrong.
Nuh-uh, the one we were talking to wasn't like that.
He wasn't a pervert, Sam.
How do you know, Takeru?
There are perverts everywhere, Takeru.
Because I do.
What is going on here?
They want to go to the human world.
The human world?
Raistero, think about it. You won't have to marry that girl and be the heir anymore. You could be with us, and we could make lives for ourselves in the new world.
Now you're just talking nonsense.
I vote that we do it.
Huh? Oh, not you two.
Think about it. This may be our chance to finally get away from this political nonsense we're stuck in. We may be nobles, but we're still our own beings.
Ristrao is in.
What? Ezreal?
Precious.
Whoa, so how do we get there?
Are you kidding me? You don't even know how we'd get there.
A simple spell should work, but it would require someone from the human world to help us get there.
We can ask him.
Oh, he'd definitely help us.
I'm not so sure about...
Raistral, aren't you tired of pleasing Father all of the time?
I am, but...
If you stay, you'll be married off and become ruler of Father's kingdom. You'll have no time for yourself or with us, and you'll be constantly at war with the other realms for power. You'll most likely turn into the spitting image of Father.
What he's saying is get your head out of your ass and let's go. If you don't say yes, I'll drag your princely ass with us. I don't care what that bastard of a father wants.
Come on, Raistero.
All right, let's do this. What's the plan?
I couldn't believe it was happening. I was seeing the history of their lives before my eyes. They were nobles, and James was the heir to the kingdom the commander ruled. Even more so, he was going to be married to Diana. They sacrificed everything to leave and be together. They'd rather be free than remain in their noble roles. I started to feel a little jealous. They were able to leave while I was still expected to be what my father wanted me to be. How they were able to leave was uncertain still, but I knew I would learn in time. I closed my eyes and mentally asked Damien to end the vision. As soon as I asked, the world around me slowly vanished, and I was brought back to the bedroom where I sat with my head nestled in Damien's hands. My vision began to clear, letting me see fully the boys around me, all with concerned faces.
So, you now know exactly who we are.
Diana is the girl you were arranged to marry?
Not anymore. Once we left, the arrangement was broken. With no sons to marry off, her dad couldn't go through with the marriage deal.
If Diana is here for us, that means she's trying to save her kingdom from being attacked.
That's not true. She wants to rule our kingdom. Having one of us will give her the right to our kingdom as much as we'd have right over hers.
So she's a gold digger.
Well, with a kingdom like ours, what succubus wouldn't want to marry us for it?
It all made sense. She wanted them so that she could finally take over an opposing kingdom, not like she was trying to save her own kingdom and family and all of that stuff. She knew that despite her powers, she wouldn't be able to fight against their father, so she had to find another way in.
That manipulative.
Before I could continue, I felt my head suddenly get heavy and dizzy. I gripped my head, mewling under my breath. I hate that word.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
What the?
How many?
I took too much. I'm so sorry.
This is like the 900th time that she's gone, what the?
Rest now. There's no need to do anything more today.
The boys rushed over and helped me lay back down as my vision was painted in white polka dots. I needed sleep badly. Instantly, I closed my eyes and the darkness consumed me.
Ooh, na na na.
Duel!